I'm gonna do oopsie, not that. I'm going to do elderberries here. There. So I've got all these elderberries on the stems. So I use a fork to do them. Some of them are green. I have to do them very few at a time, otherwise you'll break off all these little stems. I am learning as I go. It was raining really nicely a minute ago. It was really raining hard. But now it's let up. Might be over, or it might come back, I don't know. We have a leak though. A leak around our window. So trying to figure out exactly where that leak is. So I think caulking is the first avenue to take. Caulk all the way around the window wherever it's attached. It's hard to tell. I think it might be going in between the wood and the wall. So I'll have to wait for it to dry now and then put caulking there. At least we have an idea of what's the problem. But you know, there's a problem with the it's probably not putty, but maybe it is the anyway, it's on the bottom. There's a part of the caulking that has a crack in it and all the water's coming out there. Well, that's weird. How's it getting in the first place? Hi, Sammy. Are you a baby, Sammy? Hi there. Do you eat elderberries? Would you like one? There you go. I don't think you eat elderberries, do you? You're never sure about what these animals are going to eat. Well, it's nice that you could be here with me again. I like hanging out with you. It's very frustrating when the internet doesn't work when I feel like doing this. I went down. I told you about it on the last video. It was my little miracle. I went down and I saw these hanging on the bush, and the bush was hanging over the water, and the water was too far below to be able to get them from the water. And the bottom of the surface, the ground around the bush, has been undercut when they dug them out, and so it could be falling in. But also now there's a beaver lodge, or maybe it's a muskrat lodge. But I think the muskrats use the beavers' lodges, so it's probably a beaver lodge. And so you can feel it might let go underneath your feet. They usually build their lodges under the root systems of trees or bushes. That way they you know what this just reminded me of? There was a man I remember talking to, and he seemed to know something about everything. And it was so interesting to talk to him and listen to what he was saying, because he knew so much. Anyway, I hope I'm like that one day. Anyway, so I prayed about it, and I got a picture in my mind of reaching through the bush to the berries. So I decided I would go try that. And sure enough, I was able to pick off all these big things of berries without ever going around the other side of the bush. Isn't that fabulous? Oops. I was very excited. And because the rain stopped, I was able to go get your high chair, and now you're sitting up properly. So how's everybody been? What's it like? What's the weather like where you are? Are you having unusual weather? Seems like nothing is normal anymore. Could be anything. You get a regular little rainstorm, you could have a tornado spawn off that you never heard about. Or thunderstorm. They could all spawn tornadoes. We never had tornadoes here. It's not like down in the south where you guys have all those tornado warnings all the time. You've always got the machine telling you, and then you're watching it on TV and you can see live the movement of the storm. We've never had that. We don't have television, so unless they're watching live, but even that, they don't. There's not a weather, an Environment Canada weather channel that's streaming live. I don't think. There might be. I don't know. I don't have television. I have YouTube though. I do like YouTube. You know what I found out today? I never realized it, but I use Messenger all the time. Facebook Messenger, that's my contact. That's the one where everything is happening. I don't do email too much. I'm trying to do it more, but I still don't do it very much. And I have an email I have to send, and just the thought of it. Anyway, imagine the thought of an email. I mean, I could write a letter and put it in the mailbox and go get a stamp. Talk about a lot of work. My mother was always sending things to me. I bet she was probably sending things to me when I was doing YouTube. I bet I have gifts from my mom. She would send me boxes of yarn and books and clothes and scarves. Sometimes she sent me nice. She sent a lot of books, and a lot of clothes for the children, and clothes for me. When I was pregnant, she'd send me lots of maternity clothes. She'd phone and ask our sizes, and next thing you know, we'd all be getting things. What a kind person. She just wanted, and she was so far away, you know? She was in Georgia and I was in Canada. And she wanted to be part of it. She wanted to, she cared about her grandchildren. She'd phone every day, and as soon as she knew I needed something, it would be in the mail. She was such a woman, a serving kind of person, just such a giver, you know? Sometimes I resented that, I would really just like to have her and not her stuff, but, we guess the battery's getting lower, eh? This is what happens. So, when my mom was, after she died at her funeral, she was an executive secretary to the head of the physics department in the Department of Physics and Astronomy at the University of Georgia. Now, what's that for a mouthful? Well, anyway, the head of the department, so she was his secretary. And so a new head came into the situation, and it was in the fall sometime. And she told him that there's a Christmas party coming up, and with that, she wrote it down. There's a Christmas party this date, and she wrote down all the names of all the secretaries and all the items that would be appropriate for them to have for a present. And it was sort of understood that he brought presents for all of the secretaries for the department, and because that was the same office, right? He was in his little head of the department office with the executive secretary just outside his door, which was my mom, and then she had all the other secretaries in another room right beside her, or in the whatever. Anyway, so um, on there was not only the names of all the people that were secretaries, but what they would like and where he could find it, who sold it, and how much it was. And she had that all written out for him. And she told him that there was he was new to the department. Imagine. With a mother like that, she could do anything. But she could do anything secretarial. She was really an amazing person at organizing secretary stuff and paperwork and um, filing, and she's really on top of all that stuff. She's very organized like that. Whereas in our home life, not so much, you know. It was different housework. I was never into housework, and she wasn't into housework either. She was raised having animals. She had a horse, and so her great love was the barn. And so she did like to have her house clean, but as she said, you can't create anything without making a mess. And she was a great reader, so there were always stacks of books and magazines. Every time I'd go there, I'd see a whole bunch of new books. She'd go into these bookstores and she'd just go shopping, just like you go shopping at the grocery store. She'd shop for all the nice books that she'd like to read. And she'd come home and get another bookcase, and in they'd go. There wasn't much room left for bookcases. It was pretty full. There were almost bookcases in front of bookcases. I think there might have been some. And then there were just stacks. There would be a spot on the floor that was the size of a book, and there would be a stack of books that are on top of it. And then the back of the couch, she'd lay on the couch sometimes, and she'd read, and the back of the couch was so full of books. There were so many kinds of books. Most of them were self-help or news. She didn't read fiction. She never read fiction. And then there were magazines and magazines and magazines. They subscribed to the New Yorker, the Economist, the Conservationist, Christian Science Monitor, Time magazine, back when Time was a magazine and not a media company, and Life, Newsweek, Women's Day, Better Homes and Gardens, Good Housekeeping. The amount of books that were in that house, the amount of magazines that would come in every month. And she liked the recipes in them. And she'd tear out the recipes, and she'd be sure she was going to make it one day. And then she'd have all these magazines that she hadn't gone through the recipes yet. They were in a stack. You had to wait. You couldn't get rid of those magazines because they haven't been read. But how do you do all that and work a full-time job? I suppose my dad read some of them. There was another one about Georgia, I don't know, some Georgia conservationist magazine or something. And then there were the newspapers. There was the Atlanta Journal. Actually, it was the Atlanta Journal, the Atlanta Constitution, and the Atlanta Journal, or something like that. And then they named the Atlanta Journal and Constitution. My dad used to sit at the end of the table with the woods behind him, and he'd turn his chair so he could see out the window, and he'd read the Atlanta Journal and Constitution after breakfast on Saturday mornings, and he'd read them every morning. He read the paper. Always got the paper and read the paper. Here, can you take the paper to Daddy? And my mother always fed him and all of us. She would make, and herself, till she died, bacon and eggs and toast, and a little glass of orange juice. Now I could never do the same thing for that many days in a row. We'd also have oatmeal sometimes, or we'd have oatmeal. Oh, this is what you were waiting for. Sounds like all the bowling pins rolled down that time. Fell down. You know what? My shirt with all the beautiful flowers on it got rained on, and all the yellow is moved over. It's not looking like it's supposed to look like. Can you see these? Can you see how purple they are? There we go. Probably still pretty hard to see it, isn't it? I never did this when I grew up. When I farmed, we did. We had a big garden, and we'd always sit on the porch shucking peas and shucking and snapping beans. There, now you can see it better. Maybe I'll move you around and you can see me at the same time. Look at that. Of course, you know, now this is going to be so big. Be so big, so when you look at the television screen, you're going to see every flaw on my face. I can't even see all that. I think people start to look much nicer once you can't see really clearly. All my wrinkles. I covered this chair with 2 pillowcases. Oh, that's how it goes, like that. All right. Now we're cooking with butter. You know, if I were to ask, what is the best solution for pain? What is your best solution for pain? Everybody's pain is different. Some people have stomach pain, back pain, neck pain, joint pain, hip pain, knee pain, and then unknown pains that just roam. And everybody's got their own version. And so, what works for me, you know, for me, the best thing I can do for my pain is to not work. To be really careful how I move and how much I move and watch my posture. You really need to have good posture all the time. But for somebody else, you know, like food is the biggest thing, and a walk. I have to go for a walk every morning. And if I do those things, I'm in pretty good shape, sort of. Whereas the next person, food has absolutely no bearing on it. Perhaps for them they have to do a certain kind of exercise, some kind of a position that makes their pain go away. Or perhaps, you know, a surgery is needed. But to get rid of the pain itself, like to use a painkiller, you know, it surprises me that there are so few choices out there. You know that? Like the choices for pain, there's opioids, and there's cannabis, and there's ibuprofen, and Tylenol, and codeine. But codeine will make you constipated, and the opioids will make you addicted. Tylenol doesn't do much, and it'll make you depressed, or at least it makes me depressed. There again, we're all different. And ibuprofen works, but only on inflammatory arthritis, inflammatory pain. So ibuprofen will work if you've got a toothache, because that's your inflammation. Tylenol will bring down the temperature, and it might do a bit to the pain, but its purpose, it's not going to get rid of the source of the pain, which is the inflammation. But you can, if you take ibuprofen and Tylenol and you alternate them every 2 hours, if you have really severe pain, that works. But you can't do that long term, because on account of those things wreck your liver or something, kidney. But you'd think that, like they've come up with all these things, they've got cures for all kinds of diseases. But they don't seem to be able. Sorry, it says low battery. I'm sorry, I'm not going to do anything about it. When it dies, it's dead. So, because if I don't have a cord here and I'm in too much pain to go get one, I have to finish doing this. But there's another one. There's wild lettuce, which is a non-addicting opioid, and that one is very good for pain. But it's wild lettuce. It's a flower. It's a plant that flowers about now. It'll have a yellow flower, a lot of dandelion-like flowers, the yellow dandelion. It has a lot of flowers like that, from lots of them on the stem, on the branches. And it has a sap. And that sap is where the medication is. And I don't have a clue how much sap you would need to harvest to do it. I don't know if you can just buy wild lettuce sap at the pharmaceuticals. I don't really get into doing that too much. I do trust the pharmaceuticals for vaccines, but there's a whole lot of other stuff I don't trust. Many people just don't trust them, period. If you have your health, you can do anything. So it does make sense that you wouldn't want to trust your health to somebody who has monetary, maybe not completely monetary motivation, but depends on how altruistic the owner and the managers are, or the CEO. You've got somebody in there that's very honest, and money is not as important as people's health. Of course, then you probably wouldn't be the CEO. Might be the owner, though. But anyway, so you have to. But then these other people that tell you they've got the answer, they're making money off you believing them. If they're making money off you believing them, it doesn't matter if what they tell you is true or not. You have to have some way of fact checking. And they will give you these facts, and so you think that you're fact checking, but are you really? I mean, these are interviewing people that they have decided to interview. You need to have a different party, an independent party, fact check these claims. Like somebody was claiming they can get rid of cancer. Well, maybe some kinds of cancer, but let's fact check it so we can all benefit from it, and not just because they claim it. But if you really know statistics, and if you're an if you read studies, you have to read the study, and they have to be peer-reviewed studies. And from them, you can decide. You can see the evidence. You can know, instead of anecdotal evidence from people who think, or you know what I mean. You need to be able to, and like people will say, well, do your research. Well, I also think that there's a lot planted on there. so that when somebody has this question and goes looking for it, it will direct them to you and your answer. I think that's in there. And so they can say, go check it out, read the internet, see what's on there. And meanwhile, they've got like 100 other people or companies or whatever, or places that they have posted things, articles, so that you will find them and you will think that they are doing so you're not really doing the research. It's an echo chamber. An echo chamber. You've got to be careful that you're not in echo chambers. Self-fulfilling stuff. So I'm making progress. I'm halfway through the bucket. Yesterday I went to the dump and I played my violin for 2 hours. And I felt so good about that. I told you that this morning, I remember. Yeah, I felt so good about it. A lot of people loved the music. I was quite surprised because I would notice my mistakes. And when I would make a mistake, I would find people would look at me and notice that I was playing. I think that there were a few people that told me that they thought it was background music, that was, the guy that fixes the electronic stuff or checks them, that he was probably had the radio on or something. And well, that's pretty good to think that I'm a radio, but I mean, you know what I mean. But I've completely forgot. Now I'm just picking doing berries. Yeah, and so they said, oh, I thought it was the radio. And it's always after I had made one mistake. Then they would notice, because on the radio you don't hear mistakes. So it has to be live performance if you're hearing a mistake. And the more mistakes you make, the more obvious it is that you're not on the radio. Look at that one. Hey, go bird. I don't know if they'll even eat them if they're green. All green like that. Last year I got rid of these seeds at one point, and I spread them out in areas in the yard down in the valley. And I haven't seen if any have sprouted or are growing. Wouldn't that be cool if I had elderberries up here? That would really be good. You get a lot of food quickly with elderberries. But apples are also good. But apples are harder to grow. These are very happy to just spring up and start growing and feeding you. It's pretty nice, eh? Elderberries. I tried for years to grow blueberries. They didn't ever work. When I sit here and talk to you like this, it's almost like we're talking on the phone, but I don't have to give you time to talk. I mean, I don't have to be aware of the fact that I'm doing all the talking. It's okay. Sometimes I don't feel like talking, and so then I don't really want to make videos because I don't feel like talking. But today I feel like talking. If I go too fast, I end up with lots of stems in there. Do you know there's a thing for gathering blueberries? It's kind of shaped like this, like a fork. And somehow you pick them, and then they stay in it until you dump them out. Uh-oh, I squished one. See, the reason not to squish any when you're doing this is if you're going to rinse them, if you're going to try and float the green berries to get rid of them, hey, you know what? You don't have to. you can get rid of the green berries when they float later, when they're in the oxymel. They'll float in the apple cider vinegar as well as they will in the water. Oh, good idea. Wisdom is the consolation prize for messing up. Wisdom is the consolation prize for messing up. There, you can't create anything at all without making a mess. You can't create anything at all without making a mess. Oh, wisdom is the consolation prize for messing up. Wisdom is the consolation prize for messing up. There's nothing better than a new idea. There's nothing better than a new idea. Oh, wisdom is the consolation prize, which is the name, for messing up. Wisdom is the consolation prize for messing up. I should do that as a short. That's the one I wrote with my friend Lori. Lori did the music and helped me with the words, and I can't, those are my words. Now there's another one. So the one of wisdom, and then the one about can't create anything without making a mess. And then there's a new idea, but there's also another one. Luckily, I wrote it down. It's in my journal. I'll have to find where it's in my journal. My journal's in the car. It's raining a little bit. Do you like it? I thought that would be nice to make a video while it's raining. And while I have to sit here and pick elderberries, and pick elderberries anyway. So that song is copyrighted. It's my song. You can't copy it. You can sing it. Wisdom is the consolation prize for, but you can't sing it for money. For messing up. Wisdom is the consolation prize for messing up. You can't create anything at all without making a mess. You can't create anything at all without making a mess. Oh, wisdom is the consolation prize for messing up. Wisdom is the consolation prize for messing up. There's nothing better than a new idea. There's nothing better than a new idea. Oh, wisdom is the consolation prize for messing up. Wisdom is the consolation prize for messing up. Isn't that a great song? Have to get it on the radio. That's right. We'll send them a clip of me singing it with Lori playing it. We'll video ourselves and we'll send the clip to CBC. And that'll be a new song on the charts. It'll be number 10,000 on the charts to begin with. It might just stay there. Or it might just go viral. There it'll be, out there. Everybody will be humming it. Wisdom is the consolation prize for messing up. Wisdom is the consolation prize for messing up. You can't create anything at all without making a mess. You can't create anything at all without making a mess. Oh, wisdom is the consolation prize for messing up. Wisdom is the consolation prize for messing up. There's nothing better than a new idea. Look at this, we got 5 chickadees here. Nothing better than a new idea. I can't believe my whole shirt ran. Wisdom is the consolation prize for messing up. Wisdom is the consolation prize for messing up. So I have to put salt on in the water, and I have to iron them. Letting it get rained on was not a smart idea. Little did I know that the rain would wash out the color of all the flowers.